Vox bad. Howdy everybody, Steve here, KM9G. Why is Vox bad? Well, I guess the short answer is it says so right in the manual. But the longer answer is that we are doing digital communications when we're doing APRS. We're doing it from a computer. We know exactly precisely the moment that we start sending, and we know exactly precisely the moment that we stop sending. The manual goes on to say that there are some radios that have a long TX tail, a long Vox delay for when they stop voxing and go back to silence. And this really matters a lot on FM style transmissions, which is what we're doing. FM style transmissions put out a carrier, they have what's called a capture effect, and you're blocking everybody else from using that frequency until you unkey the microphone. With Vox and a Vox delay, that could be 250 milliseconds, it could be 500 milliseconds, it could be ridiculous. And really, we want to be good citizens of the airwaves, good stewards. We want to follow the DX code of conduct, even though it's LX, local communications. So let's get this fixed. And we're going to do it ugly style first. So let's just get over to it. Vox bad. Under the category of anything worth doing is worth doing wrong at first so you learn better, we have made an APRS push-to-talk cable. This is an FTDI USB to pin-out adapter. Oh, focus. There we go. And as you can see, we have a bunch of breakouts here on the outside, and the one that I'm interested in is RTS, but it could just as well be any other one. I went ahead and taken some of what they call DuPont wires. These are these these rainbow color wires that have these very specific things on the end. You get them in female to female like this, or female to male or male to male, and they're fantastic for breadboarding and little projects. I've got a little USB extension cable to make my life a little bit easier. And then we've got the Ethernet cable plugged into the Retevis RT95 like we had before, and the audio cable. What I have done differently over here is I have taken the white-brown, which as you remember from our diagram, I went ahead and labeled out where all 8 pins of this wire connect in here. And the white-brown is the push-to-talk wire. So I very carefully shoved that into the end of the DuPont wire. This is the blue one. We follow the blue one all the way down, and it goes to RTS. So what I'm going to do, I've got my Direwolf machine running. What I'm going to do is go over to our outbox like we described in the last video. Can I do this with one hand? Not like you really need to see all that, but there it is. There's our command to copy our test message into our outbox. And I've got Direwolf configured. I'll show you that in a second. There's a received packet. I've got Direwolf configured with PTT now. So when I press enter, instant transmit, and we are back out just that fast. Fantastic. Let's go over to the computer and I'll show you the configuration changes we needed to make. Vox bad. Danger glasses off. Here we are at our Direwolf screen on our lovely, lovely computer, as you can see. And what I need to do is I need to Control-C to stop Direwolf, which is going to go QRT. And I need to edit the Direwolf config file. So my favorite editor is Joe. Direwolf.conf. And the first thing I want to do is I want to take out the channel and TX delay and TX tail settings that we had from when we tested it with Vox to prove that the concept worked. It was fantastic. And after that is off, we need to change the PTT method. So I'm going to search for Vox, and that is not found, which is fantastic. Now I'm going to search for PTT, and in this case, my FTDI chip is /dev/TTY USB 0. For you, it might show up as COM1 or COM2 under Windows, or a similar name, CU or TTY dot something or other under macOS. I'll show you how to find it real quick after we're done this. But I just want to change this over to PTT/dev/TTY USB 0 RTS. And there we go. Let's get out of this, and we can find our FTDI chip. So I'm going to do dmessage on Linux, pipe to less, which is a screen paging app. And I'm going to search for TTY, and I'm going to find a whole bunch of them, but we'll find one that's really interesting here in a second. So I hit the slash key, I typed in TTY, and it found the first one at the top of the screen. Slash again, TTYS4. No idea what that is. Let's look up a bit. Yep, that's not interesting to me. All right, there we go. FTDI USB chip. I know it's an FTDI-based USB to serial device because when I bought it, I looked for one that said FTDI in it. I'll have a link in the description down below. FTDI USB serial device converter now attached to TTY USB 0. Sounds pretty straightforward, right? Yeah, because it is. It's really just that simple. You can also do dmessage-w, which will show you all of the incoming messages, and you can unplug the device, and it's gone. from TTY USB 0, and then you can plug it back in, and it is attached to USB 0. So there is FTDI USB serial device converter now disconnected when I unplugged it. FTDY USB serial device converter now attached when I connected it. So there you have it. Vox bad. If it's ugly and it works and it ain't ugly, maybe. This is still kind of ugly. I wouldn't want to carry this around. It's not very resilient or durable. It's just, it works for in the shack prototyping work. And that's what we're doing here is prototyping. Never be afraid to experiment with things that you can afford to easily replace. So I kind of talk about the $60 laptop, for example. It's 60 bucks. And if you install an operating system on it and totally wipe it out, it was a $60 education. If you install an operating system and learn a lot, that was a $60 education. I would not do that with a $2,000 MacBook Pro for my first rodeo. I would happily do it with a $60 laptop and learn, or a $10 Raspberry Pi back when you used to be able to get them for 10 bucks. The FTDI cable is the same thing that you find in a lot of your HT programming devices. And as a result, you can actually make things like this. This is a RJ45 with a couple of stripped off DuPont wires that I shoved into it. This will program the Kenwood TM281. And this here has got those same DuPont wires on one end, and then I made a cable that's got a 2.5 and a 3.5, and this will program the Baofeng UV5R series of radios or anything that uses that same kind of FTDI chip going into the K connector, because this is essentially a K connector. So what I would recommend is get the FTDI chip dingus thing. I'll leave a link in the description down below if you want to experiment. But better yet, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, because coming up next in this series, I'm going to have a better way of doing this with a single USB dongle instead of two USB dongles. Because currently I need one for PTT over USB, and I need one for audio over USB. And the next one's going to use a CM108 sound card and combine those two things into one dingus. So be sure to be on the lookout for that. Until I get it recorded, there's a video right here that YouTube thinks that you like next. And if I do get it recorded, that video will be how to do the thing I just talked about. Thanks for being awesome. I'll see you over there. Vox bad.